a b-boy. From the old to the new, still a b-boy. Too bold for the school, still a b-boy. East coast to the west, b-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed, still a b-boy.
This week, we're heading to Staten Island, New York to talk about a group of 9 MCs who exploded on the scene in '93 and completely changed not only hip hop, but the music industry itself, mixing dark beats, kung fu movie clips, and raw, gritty lyrics. The Wu-Tang Clan are the definition of iconic. So, this week, top 10 Wu-Tang Clan group songs, not solo albums, just group albums. Joining me, as always, Raven Hunter's in the house. Kane is back. Three of us are going to hold it down for the Woo, and I'll start us at number 10. And I'm going to the year 1997, Wu-Tang Forever, the double disc. I'm going with the song Severe Punishment. This is just one of those songs where I couldn't even really figure out why it always catches my ear, but it always catches my ear. And RZA has better beats, better samples. The Clan had better lyrics. For some reason, this always stood out for me, and I still couldn't put it into words. But I had to pick my top 10. You got five members of the Wu rapping, Faster Beat by RZA. And, after 36 Chambers, which I'm sure will get discussed in depth, it was nearly impossible to follow it up. I don't know if I would have went with a double album. That's a big risk, but I remember being so lukewarm on this album when it dropped because the shoes were too big to fill even for them. But Severe Punishment always stuck out to me. So that was my number 10. Kane, you are up. What's number 10 for you?
I got a miracle off of A Better Tomorrow. Going through all this stuff, this one stood out because like I like the message of it. That we're headed in this direction and it would take a miracle to pull us out of it, like as a people. And but we could do it if we like join together. And I'm sure it's because of everything going on, but it stood out and I like the message of it.
Yeah, and that was the album I kind of slept on when it first came out. Going back through it, I didn't remember a lot of it.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
Same with Eight Diagrams too, which I ended up really liking. I had kind of slept on that too for some reason. Number 10, Raven.
Number 10. I started it off with Cream from Enter the Wu-Tang. It's a classic song that I felt like I needed to give some recognition, but it's not really one of those songs that I ever would have put on a top 10. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like the beat. I love Raekwon. Raekwon kills that shit, but it's just I don't know. It's not as iconic as a lot of people make it out to be, in my opinion.
One thing though is it changed pop culture, period. People
I mean,
nowadays,
true.
if you say cream, they know what that stands for. And to change pop culture like that, kind of we talked about on the Mix-a-Lot episode,
Yeah, that's
everybody knows
why
Baby
I
Got
had
Back,
to give it a little love because it is
right?
still Cream, but you know.
Yeah, cash does rule everything around me. Number 9, I'm going to the 93 Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, and I'm going with the song The Mystery of Chess Boxing. I mean, this album could be every entry, really. But this is a song where they introduced that chess theme that they used, throughout solo albums and other group albums. And everybody rapping on it brings it. And I love the video. They're like on a human chessboard, and it's just got a gritty ass beat by RZA with a haunting piano in the back. And that video always stuck out to me. So that's how it made it. And with this album, I know we're going to go in depth with it, but we talk about it on the podcast all the time. Moments where you literally had to be there to appreciate it, to really know what it was like. This was one of those moments. When this dropped, it was so unlike anything that had ever been out or heard before. You almost had to experience it in real time to really understand the impact it had. So yeah, Mystery of Chess Boxing is my number 9. Kane, what's yours?
I got Iron Flag off of Iron Flag. I really like the beat to this one and the scratching, and the beat is like really simple, but I really like it and I really like how they sound over it. I really like their flows over this real simple beat. They kind of add some complexity to it with their rapping over it.
Well, going through all this again, I think Iron Flag is my second favorite Wu album. I really thought that aged well. Number nine, Raven.
Man, that Wu-Tang Forever disc, I will agree. When that album dropped, I remember walking to the tape store because I didn't have a car. I think it was like 96 or whatever. I was still didn't even bother getting a license. But yeah, it was going home and like maybe a disc worth of bangers and then a full disc worth of filler. There was so much that I skipped on that album to this day. But anyway, I went with Iron Flag from Iron Flag.
Oh,
So I'm gonna match Kane here. I wrote soulful, nice sampled Wu style beat, great flow. Raekwon murders the song.
that whole album was really tight. I wish I could have fit more than I ended up
It
fitting
was
on.
better than I remember it being when it came out,
And
to be honest.
I really liked it. I really liked it. We are to eight, and I'm gonna do a little curveball. I'm going to the year 1999, the Next Friday soundtrack, and the song is Shaolin Worldwide. Now, this soundtrack I want to talk about first is almost sneaky underrated. It's a really, really dope soundtrack. You get the NWA reunion with Chin Check, M's on it, Cube's on it, even on besides the NWA track. And there's some really good songs, and the Wu-Tang Clan song is one of those. And the sample is simple. It's really, if you listen to the beat, it's two bars continuously looped. It's two bars of music looped from front to back, almost like you do when you're starting it out, right? Just one long,
The,
but it works. There's dope scratching in the hook. Everybody rapping on it brings it. And I just wanted to show some love to Next Friday. The original Friday soundtrack gets all the love. Understandably, that is a classic. But Next Friday, whew, it's not that far behind the first one. So that was my number eight, Kane. You're up.
I got Triumph off of Wu-Tang Forever. I like this one because it's like their We Made It song. It's like the we told you on the first album like we were gonna be this legendary group and look at us now. Now we're Wu-Tang Forever. We've triumphed.
Yeah, and that was a big single. That was a honorable mention. It didn't make it because I was pretty sure it'd make someone's list. But what I liked about it is you had all nine members rapping on it, which was rare for obvious reasons to get
Mm.
nine MCs on one song. But that was the one thing that always stood out, and they made it a single, so they kind of let everyone get love. Yeah, Triumph was an honorable mention. We are on eight, and we are on Raven. Triumph?
honorable fucking mention. Are you kidding me? No, Triumph is way later in my list because
I
let's
bomb
be real.
atomically.
Fuck you for not putting it on your list. But anyway, um, your track from next Friday actually was my number 11. It was very close to
Oh,
making my
yeah.
very close. But I went with Shalan Feger Jab from 2000's The W. It's a great fucking beat and just it goes off so hard in that song. And it's like every day Inspector Deck and Jizza fight for who's number one in my list for this. Like it took everything I had not to put like Genius's solo song from the first album on this list because it's a solo, so I left it off.
Right.
But Genius goes off in Shaolin Figure Jab, and if I'm not mistaken, it might be the opening track on the W, and it's a great song.
One thing going through all these albums is we're doing list of every member because
We got to.
we have to.
Every
We have,
member is so good in their own way.
and it's amazing how there's all these different styles, but they work and they're all dope. And it's just, but you're right, Jizza usually is what I list as number one. I like Meth just because he's more fun
Meth is
MC,
fun. He's a
but
fun rapper, but Genius
Jizz,
and Deck, like even Deck's solo
right,
album is fucking ridiculous.
right. They're MCs, you know.
Yeah.
Number seven, I'm going back to 93's Enter the Wu-Tang. And speaking of Method Man, I went with the track Method Man, even though it's just him on it.
Mm, mm,
But
mm,
oh
mm.
shit. If y'all can break my rules, I can break my rules. And I didn't even
I
break
mean,
it. It's on a
I
Wu
might
album.
break that same rule as this
saying
podcast.
I'm just saying I left playing in the front off the sound for a reason, but that's fine.
Well,
It's
that
fine.
seems like a Raven problem,
It
not
does.
a me
Yet another
problem.
one.
Yeah, all right. But no, the song Method Man, Meth was given the ball and he ran with it and killed it from the beginning where they're naming all the members and then METHOD, man. It's catchy. And I think it kind of helped get a wider audience to pay attention because it wasn't a poppy song, but it was the closest thing on that album to reaching a more wide market. But it also appears to hardcore hip hop heads, and but so many classic lines in the song had to make my list. I didn't give a fuck. METHOD, my man, was my number seven. Kane, you're up at seven.
I got a gravel pit off the W. I'm not a huge fan of the chorus on it, but they definitely make it up by the beat and their quick flow over it. It's a song that, I definitely bob my head to when it's coming on.
That might get talked about later. Has a bananas video that I can't wait to talk about. We are still on seven. Raven.
I mean, Gravel Pit was another honorable mention. That beat is just something silly about that beat. I love. But anyway, yeah, I went back to '93's Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers. And like before going into that, just that album, man. I'm a East Coast kid, so I grew up primarily listening to West Coast music due to NWA being some of the first artists I stumbled into. But, LL, Wu-Tang and all them, they're mean a lot to me. When this tape came out, I probably 3 years straight, that was constant rotation, 3 years straight. You know what I mean? I remember being like 15 and wanting to kill myself and just holding onto this tape. This and E1999 Eternal, for some reason, will always just hold a special place. It took a lot not to put 10 songs from Enter the 36 on this album. But I went with Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With, because what a great group song. And Method Man kills that song. Like, Meth goes off in that song. It's one of the many, many, many standouts from that album.
Yeah, we could have had all 36 chamber songs, really.
I was having a
Easily.
tough time. I was like, all right, I
It
can't
was.
have 7 songs off of one album.
Right.
That's why I gave my rule for can't go over four, but there's a bunch of honorable mentions. No, great track. Might get brought up later, but not yet. Number six, we are at, and I'm going to eight diagrams, which I kind of got into a little bit. And I'm going with the song Life Changes. This is a dedication to Old Dirty Bastard after he passed away. Wu gets real, and this beat by RZA works perfectly, even though it doesn't sound RZA like. And this album, on paper, it's more polished and not that Wu-Tang sound, but I still really enjoyed it. And I always love these on the real type songs, especially a dead homie dedication. And they all talk about ODB and what he meant to them. So life changes. It ends the album too. A great way to end a record. So that was my number six. What about you, Kane?
I got Bring the Ruckus, 36 Chambers. I love it that this is how their album started. Um, it sets it up for that grimy style that carries through the whole thing and, get you motivated to bring the ruckus. Like,
Right.
get you, it's one of those songs you listen to before you do something dumb.
There's been a lot of those songs in my life.
Right.
Bring the Ruckus was an honorable mention. That probably would have been like a 12 or 13 if we're doing a bigger list. No, it's a great way to start that record because they're telling you and showing you what you're in for. I thought that would make someone's list. Raven, number six.
That one was hard not to make my list because it's a hype ass track.
Yeah.
Number six, I actually went to 2011's Eight Diagrams. I went to the song Take It Back. This has a killer beat and it has killer flows. You could take Raekwon or Inspector Deck. They both just absolutely annihilate Take It Back. It's just if you haven't shown love to Eight Diagrams, that album is way, way better than a lot of people want to give it credit for. Because each member, like, unlike what was it, Brand New Day, where half the members didn't want to be on the album. They had to pull teeth to get Raekwon on any of that fucking album.
Mm-hmm.
Eight Diagrams was the first cohesive Wu-Tang album we had since Iron Flag or the W.
Right.
So it's way better than a lot of people want to give it credit for.
That was my number 11. Take It Back. Honorable mention.
Such a hard
Just
ass
missed. Such a dope fucking song. It hurt not to put it on, but like you said, Eight Diagrams was way better than I remembered. I kind of slept on it. I like bought it, but maybe just kind of, that happens sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Other shit comes up and you move on to the next. But Eight Diagrams is really, really good album. So I'm glad Take It Back made it. That's dope. We are halfway through, And I'm for the first time gonna take you to my second favorite Wu album, I believe, 2001's Iron Flag. And I'm going with the song Rules. I really wanted more from this album, but I had to pick one to make my list work. And I went with this. And the beat is by Mathematics, not RZA. It's a faster beat that everybody kills, but amazing DJing, scratching in this joint. Just top notch. Then in the background, you got the Wu Tang chant behind the beat. I mean, this is everything you want in a Wu-Tang Clan song, and they really brought it. Iron Flag, it seemed, because I'll even kind of argue that the W seemed a little, wasn't as
It was
cohesive.
a yeah, it was kind of everywhere.
Iron Flag, I kind of felt like that old Wu is back, and that song is a great example. Rules. Oof. So that was my number five, Kane.
Protect your neck. The intro, I love the intro where the guy calls in. He's like, Wu-Tang again? Oh yeah, I get it again. I think it shows in the song they seem to, and you guys have mentioned it, they seem to work really well together. They all sound so good together, all so different, but they all sound so good together, and I think it really shows on Protect Your Neck.
Yeah, another honorable mention that just didn't make the list. Yeah, what's crazy is on paper, Method Man's a really different MC than Raekwon is, who's a really different MC than Old Dirty, but no one's like Old Dirty Bastard. But
Ain't no father
even
to his style.
right. Even RZA has such a unique flow that's unlike most. I mean, but they work so well together, it's bananas on paper that should not work. But some of the best music comes from things that you don't think should work on paper. I mean, Chuck D and Flava Flav, that shouldn't work, but it's one of the most
True,
iconic
true.
groups ever, right? And it was another great example of that. So, number five for you, Raven.
I went to 1998's Ride soundtrack, which if
Ooh,
you've not heard, Ride is a really good soundtrack. There's a lot of good hip hop on there.
yep.
It's called The Worst and it has Onyx in it.
Yes.
And I had to get that on here just because fuck, I love Onyx. And then putting Onyx and Wu together, that in 98, I just remember that blowing my fucking mind. Like, oh shit. Like finally, like Onyx could have rapped with anybody, and I think I would have been hype as fuck back then.
That's funny as hell because I had made a list of the next, maybe 15, 20 shows I want to do, and Onyx is on that list. Because I listened to
Fuck yeah.
Back the Fuck Up the other day. I'm like,
So good.
this shit
It's
is
such a weird,
so
different
good.
sounding
You're
album.
right. It's so unique. Yeah, yeah, we're doing on that shit's happening.
Fuck yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. That is a really dope song to hear Onyx and Wu together. And Ride is another sneaky good soundtrack, kind of like Next Friday. People don't know it, go check it out. All right, number four. For the first and only time, I'm going to take you to 2000s, The W. And I'm going with Gravel Pit. Yes, the single off the album. And I even know people kind of dissed this song a little bit just because of its kind of strange arrangement. But this beat by Riz is just crazy, fucking bananas beat, but it works. And having that back, forth sample, which doesn't seem very woo, that works. And I actually read this that originally the singing in it was supposed to be Aaliyah. She was tapped to do that part and then died and never got to record her
Mm,
vocals. So I should have been Aaliyah singing in that hook,
that's crazy.
which was
It
interesting.
definitely had Aaliyah's vibe, like in that
Yeah, it
those
was.
sounds, you could tell.
Yeah, she had agreed to do it. She just didn't. She died before she got to record it.
That's crazy.
But everyone kills it, and I have to talk about the video. I sometimes look way too into shit, not just let it entertain me. And this video is one of them. So they're on an elevator, the whole Wu-Tang Clan, and this elevator is a time machine. And they push the button 2000 BC. So when you travel 4,000 years in the past and the door open, I guess you just start rapping in this rock structure with half naked women. There's skulls and bones all around. And then these fucking dinosaurs start walking around the background. It's like, there's no fucking dinosaurs 4,000 years ago. I just was like, what the fuck am I watching? This makes zero sense. Not even to diss or hate it. It's just so bananas. And it's just, what the fuck direction were they looking for? But yeah, if no one's seen that video, it's a
I
trip.
gotta check it out.
Oh
I gotta
yeah,
check it
all of
out.
a sudden
It is definitely a
dinosaurs
trip.
come, and it's like, what the fuck, man? So Gravel Pit and its Bananas video was my number four. What about you, Kane?
I got Impossible off of Wu-Tang Forever. I like how they, paint the picture in this one. They tell the story. It's so descriptive. You really, really get there when he's talking about his friend dying, and you really, yeah, I really like the descriptiveness of it.
In real time, when that came out, did you kind of feel the same way? Were you a little disappointed in that record?
Yeah, to be honest, I've been after they start with 36 chambers, like, you're kind of like,
Stuff.
nothing ever lived up to that. But
And
yeah,
then
so
every solo that came out in between those two albums were
So
A-plus
dope.
albums.
Yeah.
All of
yeah,
them had like 4 to 5 mic albums. It was
Right.
insane.
yeah.
And then that came out, and it felt very just over polished and rushed. I don't
Way,
know.
way too over polished,
In
too.
the
Yeah.
in the double disc thing, like you said, just setting it
You
up
could
to be, a lot
they
of
they could have chose 12 of them songs, and you would have had a
Oh,
classic
yeah.
album probably.
right,
No
right.
doubt. No doubt about it. Four, Raven?
Or Raven. Yeah, I went back to 93. This is the third time. I had also limited myself at four. So my third time though, I went to Wu-Tang Seventh Chamber. It's just a killer posse song with a killer beat, and Method Man absolutely destroys Seventh Chamber.
This brings us to the top three. And I'm going to take us to that same album, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers. And I'm going to the song that Raven kind of dissed, Cream, Cash Rules Everything Around Me.
I did not
Uh,
diss it.
Unlike you, I think this is an iconic song. It
I never said it wasn't.
besides, besides just Method doing the hook alone that is so iconic and so great, and the piano in the background that RZA put in there over that smooth beat. It's a perfect mix of on the reel and that woo sound. And this is a video I can remember being on UMTV Raps a lot. It got lots of airplay. And the video too, it showed the members rapping with their stories going on behind them, which is kind of cool also. So to me, Casual's Everything Around Me is an iconic top three Wu-Tang Clan song. So that's why I put it at number three. Kane, what's your number three?
I got a Method Man from 36 Chambers. I guess it didn't even enter my mind that it was just a Method Man song. I know it's just a Method Man song, but I was like, yeah, this is the torture skit in the beginning is super funny. I guess I put it on my list because it's the start of this huge career that Method Man has. He's still out there, doing stuff,
Yeah.
you know, his solo career, his stuff with Redman, the movies, everything, So that's why I put it so high.
No, Method Man, I actually his whole solo career was pretty. He never took big dips, even in the albums I liked the least. There was still really good stuff, and then the stuff with Redman, the Blackout albums. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing needs to be said about that. They're so dope. But yeah, good pick, good pick. Raven, number three. Is it Method Man?
No, it
Oh,
didn't make my list, unfortunately. Great song, very fun. But yeah, actually, one thing I do hate about Meth and his solo career is Street Life. That fucking guy's
he's
in
on a lot of fucking songs.
17 out of 20 songs on every album that Meth puts out. And but
Yeah,
even up to like what, to Cal 5, the Meth Lab or whatever, like every album has been good. Like there's still
yeah,
good songs on
yeah.
every Meth album. But no, I couldn't be a cheater. I couldn't do it this time. So I didn't, that
Uh,
song didn't make it, you know what I mean? But um I went back to Iron Flag, which I remember liking Iron Flag, but I'm probably with you where this is like my second favorite Wu album now. Before I don't know what I would have said because it was never forever. I know that.
no,
But I went to Radioactive, The Four Assassins from Iron Flag because it's just a bouncing beat with these like bullhorns that are blaring on and off throughout the whole song. It's got a very like Public Enemy type of feeling beat to it, in my
yes,
opinion. I'm glad you agree. Um,
yes.
but it had the oldest Wu sound that I had been looking for albums. You know what I mean? And again, on this one, Genius fucking kills it. It just murders that song. He opens it and kills it.
Yeah, that was an honorable mention. Very Bomb Squad sounding type
Mm.
beat. Yep, that's cool. You said that. I thought the exact same thing. We are to number two, and for one last time, I'm actually gonna go to 97's Forever. Yeah, number two. Reunited.
Mm.
Man, this fucking beat, that violin over that beat, part of me wants this to be number one because I think this is my all-time favorite RZA beat, which is saying a lot. He's had his hands in so many amazing beats. And maybe if I listen to the whole list of every single beat he ever made for every project, I might change my mind. But this fucking violin is just amazing. And everyone, who's rapping on it just fucking kills it. And this is the second song. It's not the first one, but it's almost like a good start to an album. It's too bad that everything kind of went downhill after that. Even Old Dirty Bastard, this might have been one of his better verses ever. You never know what you're gonna get from him. And the hook works perfect. That girl singing, "It's Woo, motherfuckers,
Mm.
Wu-Tang, motherfucker." It's just all so perfect. I fucking love Reunited. It gets me hyped. Yet to this day, I should have stopped listening after that song. But yeah, that was my number two. Kane, what about you?
I got cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Like you said, this acronym is a staple in hip hop now. And you know how they're just talking about what they're seeing around them, you know. They're seeing what it takes to, step in this direction. It takes money. Like you gotta get the money first.
I love Raekwon's verse. Same damn low sweater. Just that
Mm.
feeling of
Right.
like, I got, I need to up my shit, right?
Right.
Cream. It did make everyone's list, though, even if someone had it really fucking low. Raven, what's your number two?
At least I didn't put a fucking solo song in my top three. Anyway, um, my number two, I went back to 93's Enter the Wu-Tang for the last time, and I went with The Mystery of Chess Boxing. I remember seeing this video the first time on the box. I was sitting in my room with my brother, and the chessboard, Ghostface Killer with the blackout face mask, and it was just like, whoa, like these motherfuckers are hard, they're rugged, they look rugged as shit, like they're smoking crack and stabbing you in the back. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
um, but that album just, it was that lightning in the bottle that you
Mhm.
never get to see replicated.
Like I said, you almost had to be there. It's crazy. When I first heard that tape, just never stopped playing it. Which brings us to number one. And my number one is going to be off that album, 36 Chambers, Enter the Wu-Tang. And I'm going with the song Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With. Right from those finger snaps and the tiger style. I mean,
Hmm.
you almost get chills up your spine. And then RZA spits the first four bars just over that snapping, and then the beat comes in and just like hits you in the face like, Mike Tyson punch. And objectively, you can say this isn't, on paper, the best type of Wu-Tang song, but this gives me such a hype ass mood. It's always stood out. I loved it back in 93. I still love it now. The dirty production, the dope lyrics, even the lack of structure kind of just all works. What a fucking album. What an album. And Wu-Tang Clan was nothing to fuck with back in 93. No doubt about that. So that was my number one. Kane, your number one.
I got can it all be so simple? I picked this one because of the reminiscing of it. Like they wish everything was so simple like back in the day and they're talking about this in 93. And like now we're wishing we go back to
I mean,
93
right.
and experience this album again like it's been mentioned, to be there when this came out and hear it for the first time when you've never heard anything like this with the kung fu, with the nine members, with the they're also grimy and different, but they sound so good together. Just a legendary group, and this is my favorite song off of 36 Chambers.
Yeah, that was hard not to put on. Before this, I would have thought it would have made it. It was an honorable mention. It would have been like in the top 15. Raven, what's your number one?
I mean, it was talked about once, I
A
think,
bomb
earlier.
atomically.
Socrates, Philosophies, and High Prophecies. The number one, and I will fight you in the street if you
Oh
disagree,
shit.
number one hip hop verse ever written, Inspector Deck's Open to Triumph. There is, in my opinion, no finer example of just a fucking MC than what he does to that beat. I remember front to back that that song was really the only fucking thing playing off that tape for that summer for me. But Triumph, I would definitely say I truly believe Inspector Deck wrote one of the best verses in rap when he put that song out.
And if the backstory is to believe, because I always heard, I don't know if it's an urban legend or true, that he laid something else and RZA said it wasn't good enough for that
Yeah, so
track. And
he's
then
like,
he
all right,
came back and like wrote that verse.
That's
That's the
awesome.
story I ever heard, whether it's real or just an urban legend. But
yeah, I mean, that's what
uh,
I had heard because that's definitely the way RZA was with everybody on every
right.
project, which is why Raekwon fucking hates RZA and doesn't like to work with him anyway. But
But yeah, Deck took that challenge. Like, all right, my verse ain't good enough. And you're right, amazing fucking first verse and just verse period. So yeah, I understand. I understand. Wu-Tang Clan group albums. We got through them. We definitely gonna do solo careers in the future. But honorable mentions. If no song got brought up by anybody and I thought it deserved some love, I just quick shout it out. Everything that I had down for 36 Chambers got brought up except Shame on I like that song. On Forever, I had It's Yours and Dog Shit, the ODB song always makes me laugh. From the W, Red Bull and Protect Your Neck, the Jump Off, I thought might make someone's list. From Iron Flag, In the Hood. I can't believe no one picked the Uzi Pinky Ring song.
it was on
Uh,
my honorables.
One of Those Days, Y'all Been Warned. Iron Flag was the shit. I
Fuck
love
yeah.
that record. I'm going to give it much more love. It diagrams wolves. The Tales from the Hood soundtrack. Let me at 'em. I was expecting that on Raven's list.
Dude, I fucking forgot that song was on that
Hmm.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
Jesus, because we cover that soundtrack so much and it's on
Mhm.
every one of my lists. I gotta go dig it up real quick. I totally fucking
All right.
forgot that song was on there.
I was surprised you didn't bring that up. And the In the Beginning There Was Rap compilation where Wu-Tang redoes Run DMC's Sucker MCs. When fucking ODB comes in on DMC's part, I'm ODB in the place to be. I never went to a university, and it's just fucking so awesome. It makes me smile every time, so I had to bring it up. Are we missing anything?
I think you covered pretty much everything I would have. Clan in the Front would have been probably number two for me if I was counting Genius solos, but other than that, yeah, I'd probably and Method Man definitely 100% would have made my list if I went that route.
Well, it was on a Wu-Tang Clan album, so that counts.
Agreed, and I know I bend that rule, but for some reason I kind of gatekeep Wu. Like I said,
Oh,
as an
there's no
East Coast
breaking
kid,
news,
that
right?
group for me was it was there was nothing better at that in that time. You know, like I would have grabbed 36 Chambers off the shelf over any NWA album at the time, and I was obsessed with NWA. So
Mhm.
that's how much this album clicked with me. And I think it was I was a fucking nerd. I grew up loving like Bruce Lee, and I had seen Born Invincible and all these old school kung fu movies that they end up sampling. I think that was a big part of what drew me into this album. And
Yeah, for sure.
aside from like Ghetto Boys with Scarface, there really wasn't rappers that were doing that, you know, in
Right.
mainstream music, sampling movies and shit, you know. So yeah, I would that album is that's probably top five, top three rap albums of all time for me.
But Wu-Tang Clan is done. We are finished. Have a good night, everyone. Peace.
Still a b-boy, from the old to the new, still a b-boy. Too bold for the school, still a b-boy. East coast to the west, b-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed. Still a b-boy, from the old to the new, still a b-boy. Too bold for the school, still a b-boy. East coast to the west, b-boys worldwide.